we haven't checked in with Glenn Beck, obviously, for good reason. One is there is nothing to be learned from ever checking in with Glenn Beck. That's one thing. The other thing is Glenn Beck is in Texas, Utah, Arkansas, the woods. I don't know where the fuck this studio is hooked up to his house, which is hooked up to his garage studio and stuff. It's like the whole, I mean, it doesn't really matter. And I don't know why they set up this ass cam. I don't know what the Glenn Beck viewers, not here to yuck anybody's yum, but this is oddly pervy. But, you know, he's got a legal expert on. Let's see who this is. Why this legal expert says FBI's Trump raid is outrageous. Hey, look, it's the word. Hey, look at that. If just so you know, if a politician or anyone uses the word outrageous, it's it means it's true. Whatever they're upset about is true. They say outrageous because it's one of those words. It can be true whether it's honest or not. You know, if you accuse me of something that I have done, I can still say it's outrageous that you would even say something like that out in public because it's outrageous. This is outrageous. It's outrage. It causes outrage for you to even bring it up. It's outrageous. You can tell there's outrage because there's 12 fucking maggots driving around in a circle outside of Mar-a-Lago while Trump isn't there. And the FBI have already left while Trump has told them that they are occupying the fucking place. Let's see why this legal expert says FBI's Trump raid is outrageous. Why would that be?
Professor Alan Dershowitz.
Oh, get the fuck out of here. Really? Mr. Epstein, I left my underwear on. It was an old Russian lady, even though this girl that was groomed by Epstein says that she was made to service this fucker.
Back on the program.
You couldn't get anybody else?
Alan?
Ellen, it's Ellen, right? Charmed. I got this ongoing head cold thing. I'm starting to think it's Stu's aftershave.
You were one of the first people I thought of
when I was like, who's disgusting enough to truly throw themselves in front of a bus to protect Donald Trump?
When I heard what was going on, because I knew you
would protect Trump, and you were willing to lie on his behalf,
would have an opinion, and it would force me to either rethink mine or to shore my opinion up.
Yeah, see, it always makes you rethink your position.
Yep.
Tell me about the raid on Donald Trump.
Well, first of all,
Wait a minute. I know there was a raid on Mar-a-Lago, but Trump was raided himself? They definitely had to use those, like, spelunker ropes to do this then. It's like all these tiny little FBI agents just coming down like spiders and just, yay.
I have more experience under the Fourth Amendment than probably any academic in America.
Okay, well, then you're the guy to throw it out the fucking window, and I'm sure you'll say, look, the judge saw evidence. He got they got a warrant. It had been months.
I understand the Fourth Amendment.
Okay.
I've written books about it.
Great.
I've litigated dozens of cases.
And it should never apply to a former president who lives in the attic of a wedding hall.
On the Fourth Amendment. And I'm a liberal Democrat who voted for Biden and against
citation needed.
Against Trump. But this raid is absolutely outrageous.
Absolutely outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous. He should be above the law. So says Alan Dershowitz.
Unconstitutional.
Why is it unconstitutional? How?
You don't engage in a raid on a house unless you've exhausted all other parts.
First of all, it's not a house. It's not a house, fucko. It's a public space where classified documents might be kept. Fuck you. End of conversation. It's not his home. It's not a house. He's not even supposed to legally live there. He signed paperwork saying it's not a fucking residence. He lives in one of the hotel rooms. He uses an office there, and they kept stuff in a storage room that was you could walk down a fucking hallway. Anybody that was there could buy their way into the fucking place and get to the stuff. It's not his house. It's not a fucking house. It was never a fucking house. If it was his house, maybe so. It isn't. Just because he lives there doesn't mean the rules apply the same.
Possibilities, and the most obvious
is that it's not a house.
Recourse here was a subpoena to the president.
No, because they didn't trust him. They had already asked him for the documents back, and they knew he hadn't given all of them. They had to fucking go get them because it wasn't a house. It's not a fucking house. God damn it. It's not a fucking house. It's a publicly rented event space. Hundreds, if not thousands of people go through the fucking doors every month. Piss off with this nonsense.
President saying there are 25 boxes in your house. There's a safe. We would like you to bring them all to the court tomorrow morning before you have a chance.
Yeah, they already did that months ago, multiple times. They came there in person, like, where's the shit? And he's like, it's in a safe downstairs. Can we leave with it? No. Well, we got to come back and get it because we could bust into that place with our eyes closed in the middle of the night, and this security is fucking cheap as shit. You are a chintzy bastard.
To leave where you are in the Northeast and come there and destroy anything.
They didn't destroy anything.
And we...
All right, by the way, just the insistence that they destroyed anything is bad faith. Fuck you.
Will then submit it to a judge, and lawyers can argue some of it was unclassified, some of it was unclassified by the president, some was never classified. Some may be so classified that even the FBI shouldn't have access to it.
Well, they don't have fucking choice, do they? They have to get back stolen documents.
Some may be.
Retrieval is their job. It's his fault for putting them in that situation, dummy.
Privilege, lawyer-client, executive privilege.
No, sorry. There is no lawyer-client executive privilege that is greater than the classification of top secret documents in terms of elected officials and what they can declassify or share with their attorneys at all. That doesn't work that way. And if you do declassify stuff, you got to write it fucking down. You want to show something? Show the warrant. Trump wants to show something. He should show the warrant, and he should show the written declassification documents that he signed. I declassified all this stuff a long time ago.
This is exactly the kind of thing that needs a document-by-document analysis.
Right, but they have to have the documents back, you dumbass.
By a judge, not the FBI coming in and sweeping everything together, breaking into a safe. It reminds me of the Geraldo Rivera fiasco when he broke into the safe.
Yeah, except this one was full of classified documents, dumb fuck.
One of the big...
There was fucking 15... Look, if Geraldo broke into Al Capone's vault like he did back in the day, and we were all watching when he did it, if he broke into that vault and there were 15 boxes of classified documents in there that he'd gotten from the government, Geraldo wouldn't be a meme around that shit. Geraldo's safe wouldn't be a meme. It would be a point of heroism in American history and journalism.
Gangsters, Capone or somebody, and nothing was in there. Nothing was in there.
Yeah, 15 boxes were in there, Alan. 15, you fucking creep.
You must have a single standard of justice. I'm a friend of both Sandy Berger, who was the former national security advisor.
Alan Dershowitz has no friends. He's been complaining about how no one wants to hang out with him anymore because he's creepy. It's because they all have grandkids. That's why they don't want to hang out with him. A lot of he's like, because I defended Trump. No. It has nothing to do with that. It's way more baseline than that.
Advisor, the late Sandy Berger, and a friend of Hillary Clinton.
Not so much.
What they were accused of was exactly comparable. And
no, it wasn't. No, they weren't. In the case of Hillary Clinton, it was digital, meaning that the other copies of stuff already existed, and it was the fact that these documents it existed digitally, possibly on her server. They ultimately did not. And the destruction of that server would have handled that part of it, because you don't destroy something digitally that exists that still exists at the White House. It's like if you destroy your phone, your State Department phone after you leave, you're supposed to do that. It's not the destruction of documents. It's a receiver for a radio signal you no longer have access to, so you should break the fucking thing. And that includes, and you should destroy every aspect of it so it can't be put back together so that they can get documents off of it. You want to destroy it as fully as possible. That's not the same fucking thing as driving away with now 30 boxes of shit. If the argument Alan Dershowitz is making here is that these aren't copies of all the shit that he should have returned, that he had another 15 boxes of stuff that was on the classified inventory.
There were no searches of their houses. People who have been...
That's because there was never, well, I don't know about Sandy Berger, but in the case of Hillary Clinton, there was no paperwork involved in any of that shit. There was never even an accusation that they had driven away with multiple boxes of hard copies of stuff that was classified.
Found guilty of taking classified material improperly have been given fines. I don't think there's ever been a search like this based...
Yeah, but there's never been a president who spent 15 months saying, yeah, I got it. What are you going to do about it?
On the allegations made in this case. Now, don't rush to judgment. Maybe there is something there.
Yeah, maybe there is something there. It's, probably not, though. It's probably, Trump's usually the innocent one in this situation. And the FBI, who've caught like every serial killer that that you watch on a true crime special on fucking Hulu and Netflix. Those guys are the bad guys. The people at the Bureau, you really can't trust those fuckers.
Right now, the burden of proof is heavily on...
Thank you, James, by the way, for the super chat. And thank you, Grim. Appreciate that. And Thomas Anna, thank you so much.
The Justice Department and the FBI to justify what they have done.
They did, to a judge, and the judge gave them a warrant.
A justification, most Americans...
And by the way, what they're all asking for, what he's asking for, all these other, they need to justify this. That's a political question. That's a political ask. They are asking for a Comey moment. We shouldn't have had the Comey moment in the Hillary thing, which turned out to be bullshit after 2 years at all.
Americans will not,
much less now,
believe this was necessary. And they're going to come back and say, oh...
By the way, it's a great view of Glenn Beck.
We can't discuss it. Ongoing investigation, classified material, nonsense. Appoint a special master who has security clearance.
They don't have to, fucko. These are boxes he took from the White House. There are documents, all of it belongs in the National Archives or it's classified. If he wanted to fill out stuff that he wanted to keep with him, they provide you with copies of that shit. You don't need a special master. The National Archives are already tasked with that fucking job.
Who can objectively look through this thing, or else appoint a congressional...
Yes, because the National Archives people are all, fucking progressive psychopaths who want communism.
A real committee, not like January 6th, which includes, 40% Republicans, 60% Democrats.
And whose fault is that? McCarthy could have had other Republicans on there. He chose not to, because the only people he wanted on there were people that were going to be subpoenaed.
Have them look at this
Have everybody look at it. It's classified material. Just have it, you know what I mean? Put it on the internet.
Classified manner. But we cannot accept either silence or a claim that privilege somehow or confidentiality requires silence.
But do we... even know the chain of command now? I mean, how?
Yeah, no, it goes straight from Macron calls Hillary. She calls Obama. Obama goes to the Bohemian Grove. He touches the giant owl's penis, and then a little thing pops out like one of those vending machines, the little plastic bubbles, and you pop the top off of it, and inside is a little note, and then they feed that into the Biden bot 2000, and he just, and he signs shit. I mean, why do I even have to explain this?
How safe is it? First of all, Ellen, we had...
Ellen. It's pronounced Ellen, apparently.
Had Hillary Clinton having some of her staff cut top secret off the top of documents in a skiff, send them to her server at her house, and we didn't go through this. What?
Had it sent to the server in the house. Well, that's because they got the server. They had it. There was no paper, there was no boxes of shit at the house.
Could possibly be.
I don't know. What could possibly be there? There's no way Trump could have taken stuff and didn't cut top secret or classified secret, which is, of course, different variations.
In these documents.
I don't know. I couldn't, probably nothing. You know what? I take it back. Probably just personal stuff, just like that. This could not, it couldn't be this important. It's the kind of shit you shrug off.
That are so vital.
Gee, I don't know. Think about it.
That
it might warrant the most extraordinary action by the FBI in the history of the fucking country. Maybe. Just maybe. How is it that, we're the ones who are give law enforcement the benefit of the doubt? And these fuckers are like, look, I don't care what the FBI does to save lives or anything in this country. I don't give a shit that the last 2 FBI agents that were gunned down a few, just miles from Mar-a-Lago. I don't give a shit about that. Trump is pure as the sunshine, and therefore they've got to be lying.
Warrants this compared to what Hillary Clinton did.
Or compared to what a subpoena would have produced. We don't know what's in there.
Yeah, we don't know. So the best thing to do is speculate about the absolute guilt of the FBI and the assumption of innocence on Donald Trump's part, even though this has been an ongoing problem with this fucker since he left, since he's admitted to taking classified documents, since they already had to give some shit back, since the National Archives had to come back and go, it's not all there. And they went, fuck you. And they said, well, at least until we can come get it or you guys can pass it to us, at least put a goddamn lock on the door. And they padlocked it.
Maybe there is some smoking gun.
Yeah, but, that's a possibility. It's a crazy, outlandish thought, considering how normal it is for the FBI to conduct a subpoena or a search warrant on a former president's property. So since it's so within the realm of normal that, the assumption of craziness should be on the other side.
Again, he wasn't even on the premises. He couldn't have destroyed the information.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he didn't have people doing it for him. Alan, he's a lazy son of a bitch. He has other people crime for him.
All they had to do was issue a subpoena returnable this morning at 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
There would have been no possibility of destroying evidence. And by the way, if...
Oh, no? No possibility? After months and fucking months?
Anyone, President Trump or anyone else, ordered the destruction of evidence, that's Nixon time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where the law came from, dummy.
That's impeachment. That's criminal prosecution. That's a serious crime.
Right. But there's also, it's not the destruction of them. It's the sale. The obvious concern with Donald Trump is financial desperation and elbow rubbing with the biggest fucking psychos on the planet. From Kim Jong-un to Putin to the fucking Saudis, this guy never met a dictator he didn't like, and they've all got money to spare. And when he gets desperate, this is his, in case of emergency, break glass safe.
Destroying subpoenaed material.
Yeah, we're not worried about him destroying it. Swear to God. I'm worried about him selling it, fucko.
If, that's what the law is there for, to prevent that. And does anybody believe that Donald Trump would have taken a chance to destroy material?
Yes, of course. There was stuff in the boxes he had torn up and they had to tape back together that went to the National Archives. Of course he already destroyed it. They told him not to repeatedly, and he still did it. He tried to flush it down the fucking toilet. Of course he did.
He didn't know whether there were copies of the material or
because he's incurious and stupid?
Other evidence that it might be destroyed. This is a pretext.
No, it isn't.
There's no way that the Justice Department actually believed that President Trump would destroy the documents.
Nonsense. What year is this? This is a story from 2018 for anybody who is starting to huff Alan Dershowitz's farts here. And are like, well, I don't know that. All right. Meet the guys who taped Trump's papers back together. The June 10th, 2018. 2018. Solomon Hardy spent the first 5 months of the Trump administration working in the old executive office building, standing over a desk with scraps of paper spread out in front of him. Lardy, who earned an annual salary of $65,969 as a records management analyst, was a career government official with close to 30 years under his belt, but he had never seen anything like this in any previous administration he had worked for. He had never had to tape the president's papers back together again. Armed with rolls of Scotch tape, Lardy and his colleagues would sift through large piles of shredded paper and put them back together again. He said, like a jigsaw puzzle. Sometimes the papers would just be split down the middle, but other times they would be torn into pieces so small they looked like confetti. It was a painstaking process that was the result of a clash between legal requirements to preserve White House records and President Donald Trump's odd and enduring habit of ripping up papers when he's done with them, and what people sometimes described as his unofficial filing system. They had every reason to believe he would do this, you dipshit. He'd been doing it for years. They had multiple people assigned to just taping his shit back together. Listen to this statement from Alan Dershowitz one more time.
Justice Department actually believed that no way that it might be destroyed. This is a pretext. There's no way that the Justice Department actually believed that President Trump would destroy the documents. Now,
why? There's no way that the Justice Department would have any reason to think that he would destroy the documents, except for the fact that since 2018, they had full-time employees at the records office taping his shit back together because he would destroy documents. Never mind the story about him flushing shit. And by the way, the flushing story, the torn up and flushed down the toilet, notice that those pictures and those stories came out after this one. This story came out in 2018. This became well known. Trump had a history of tearing his shit up, throwing it in the garbage, and then they have to get the fucking garbage can and dump it back out and tape it all back together because you're not allowed to do that. So what'd he start doing? He'd rip it up and then flush it down the fucking toilet. Already had full-time employees doing this shit. And Alan Dershowitz is telling Glenn Beck that, let's hear it again. Let's hear it one more fucking time. There is no way.
Copies of the material or other evidence that it might be destroyed. This is a pretext. There's no way that the Justice Department actually believed that President Trump would destroy the documents.
He tore shit up and they had to reconstruct it when he was still in the fucking White House. Then he took classified materials and records of shit that he did home to his goddamn golf place, his event property that he lives in the attic of. And I mean, what is that what he was doing in his fucking spare time? Just tearing up shit that looked criminal? Of course there was lots of reasons why they would think he would destroy documents, you dipshit.
Now, people say, oh, but a judge approved of the search warrant. Let me tell
Ugh, judges. Fucking judges, am I right?
you, with almost 60 years of experience as a criminal lawyer, I've never heard of a judge ever turn.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. We may have just heard one of the most beautiful, I think this is one of the most amazing Freudian slips I have ever heard in my life.
Let me tell you, with almost 60 years of experience as a criminal lawyer, I've never heard of a judge. Let me tell you, with almost 60 years of experience as a criminal lawyer, I've never heard of a judge. Let me tell you, with almost 60 years of experience as a criminal lawyer, I've never heard of a judge.
Almost 60 years as a criminal. I mean, sometimes you're just there when magic happens. Sometimes the sunset crests through the trees. Sometimes a friend leans over in a leather chair and it makes a funny noise that they just, no matter how much they writhe around, can't recreate. And sometimes fuckheads like Alan Dershowitz accidentally tell Glenn Beck the truth.
Let me tell you, with almost 60 years of experience as a criminal lawyer, I've never heard of a judge ever turning down a search warrant.
60 years as a criminal. I've never heard of a judge turning down a search warrant. That's because he's always been on the criminal defense side of it, representing the most reprehensible people in the fucking world who've already been through the period where they, and still it's almost. Almost ever.
They give out search warrants more easily than Halloween candy.
No, they don't. I mean, as hyperbolic bullshit goes, this is ridiculous. But, I mean, we should just understand that he just admitted that he's been a criminal for 60 years. So I don't take everything else he says in context.
And so that's not a safeguard at all.
And again, he's basically saying, well, we have a Fourth Amendment, but we don't really use it in the United States. And it's not just because I represent people like O.J. fucking Simpson and Donald Trump, who are the worst fucking clients in the world.
Who was the judge? Do we know? Who did this?
No,
Do we know anything about them?
We don't know anything.
Do we know them? Are they Jews by any chance, Alan?
No, we haven't seen the document. Look, there is
Well, you know, Trump has it.
a search warrant in existence. We should see it. There is an affidavit in support of the search warrant. We know what happened when there was the search warrant for the FISA court.
Yeah.
It turned out to be fake.
No, it didn't.
Turned out to be filled with lies.
Well, no, it didn't. Wasn't filled with lies. There was one sentence that the dude exaggerated to try and get Carter Page's FISA warrant rescinded. The lie that was on the FISA application that they keep citing made it less likely that Carter Page would continue to have a FISA warrant against him. The application was modified so that the judge would turn it down, would protect Trump.
By the FBI.
Yeah. Well, you know, I love the FBI. I have worked with the FBI. I have worked with former directors of the FBI. It's a great organization. I don't know what the chain of command is. The White House has denied knowing about the raid, which is quite surprising.
No, it isn't.
Obviously, the Attorney General, who I also know, a former student at Harvard Law School, I think very highly of him. I supported him for the Supreme Court. He obviously had to have approved this raid. What was he thinking?
He was thinking that, holy fuck, this asshole is keeping classified material at a public event space. The entire predicate that this is his fucking home is the problem. He rents the place out regularly to fucking strangers. Ask the Secret Service if this is a fucking pain in the ass. When this asshole wants to show up at random strangers' weddings and blather.
Let him tell us. Maybe he's right.
He is.
Maybe he did the right thing.
He did.
I want to know that. Americans have a right to know that because
Americans have the right to know why the fuck Donald Trump has classified material at a public event space he rents to strangers.
We all now know if you can do this to a former president, you can do it to Glenn Beck, you can do it to Alan Dershowitz, you can do it to all of.
You could already do it to the rest of us. The weird part was that they couldn't go after Trump when he did this shit. If any of us that was the argument about Hillary Clinton that they used to say. Mike Flynn would do this all. If any of us did half of what Hillary Clinton did, we'd all be in Rikers right now. Remember that shit? Good Lord.
Of your listeners. And this has to be justified or else it has to be undone.
It can't be undone. We're not going to give him back classified material so that he can house it at his 18 feet down a hallway from a place where the bathroom is that the public uses when he has fucking like crypto company launch parties. Is there a problem with the fact that Mar-a-Lago is not actually legally a residence according to the state of Florida, and that he's not there a lot and he has to move around a lot because he would violate the tax code that he had signed a contract for, and that it's actually a publicly available space?
You speak directly as if I were a person that voted for Biden and I despise Donald Trump.
Uh-huh. Oh, so talk to me then. Sell me on this. Do it. Be my ears, Glenn. Be my ears.
And I think he's guilty of everything and he just can't be president anymore. Why is this so important that we correct?
Yeah. Why should I care?
Yeah, look, I'm talking to you from Martha's Vineyard,
where no one likes me. These motherfuckers. We're talking about where the judges can't afford to summer and winter in places. This asshole's calling you from Martha's Vineyard where nobody wants to fucking talk to him anymore. Not because of his votes for Trump. He'll say that, but because they all have granddaughters.
Nobody in Chilmark speaks to me anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Because of your Epstein connections. You fucking creep.
Recently, I was invited to a big event, a celebration of somebody's engagement.
Uh-huh.
I got a letter this morning saying,
don't come.
We have been told not to invite you because if we invite you, nobody else will come.
Yes, because it's a wedding and there will be children present. That's why. Says fucking nothing to do with his relation to Trump or the fucking impeachment hearing.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. And did you promise to leave your underwear on? You said you were going to leave your underwear on. And did you write him back a big letter with Sharpie where it said, I'll leave my underwear on this time, I promise?
Our social reputations will be destroyed.
Right. Because you are attached to Jeffrey fucking Epstein.
I had another event, a concert, where a good friend of mine said that if I invited you, I'd be committing social suicide. I tell all these stories.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and yet no one feels sorry for you because you fucking hung out with Jeffrey Epstein and got a massage on his fucking property. All right. Mar-a-Lago is a rentable event space, and if it had a spa there and somebody like Dershowitz was there visiting Trump and he used the spa and he got a massage there, it wouldn't be that weird because it's a spa on property in a publicly available place. It's like the spa on a cruise ship or at a fucking hotel or something like that, right? Nobody, I mean, we'd all get skeeved out by it, but because he's nasty, not because it would be that weird. He got a massage at a dude's private house in one of the bedrooms. What is that? I have a lot of close male friendships. There has never been a time where I'm like, come on over. You can go in the spare bedroom. I hired a masseuse for you. What? Wrap your head around that for a fucking second. Why? That's why. It's weird. It's a fucking private residence. And Mar-a-Lago is not a private residence. That's, by the way, that's where all this bullshit falls apart. That's where they're like, this is the most outrageous. No, it isn't. Trump kept classified documents at a public event space. That's why they had to go there and pick the shit up. He didn't have a house in West Palm Beach that's his own private residence where they negotiate a long-term thing where people don't come and go and they know exactly who's leaving and who's going in and out all the time because it's a private presidential residence. He rents this fucking place out. So the rules are different. Go get the shit.
Naming names in my book, The Price of Principle, because the price of principle
Oh, fuck. Now he's selling his book. These are all the people who think I'm fucking disgusting.
is all about what happens to Americans today when they try to be neutral, try to be principled,
Try to get a handy.
try to be objective.
Try to hang out in a spare bedroom of Jeffrey Epstein's and get a massage with their underwear on.
And don't pick sides. And
Don't pick sides. Asshole, you have just said in this that we don't know, and yet spent the entirety of the time saying this is unconstitutional, it goes against everything, it's illegal, this is clearly a violation, this is outlandish, it's outrageous, it's pathetic, it's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. I've written books about it, I've taught classes on it. This is all a violation of the Fourth Amendment, but I don't know anything about it. We don't know the details. So until they show us the details, we're going to assume the worst of the judge and the FBI agents that carried it out, and not the dude who used to hang out and party with Jeffrey Epstein, the dude who gave Alan Dershowitz a free massage in his apartment in New York. I don't... Does this asshole just not know what people think of him? Does this asshole not think that people... This isn't like 6 degrees of fucking Kevin Bacon that everybody's attached to him. This is... This asshole is 1 degree away from Jeffrey Epstein. And so is Donald Trump. It's not even like Trump knows Dershowitz, who knows Epstein. They all hung out together.
so I would hope that people who hate Trump, who voted for Biden, I voted for Biden, are just as upset at what happened here.
No, I'm not. We're not even talking about Hillary's server was at her house. She's a former Secretary of State. Her husband was the President of the United States. That place is far more fucking secure than Mar-a-Lago ever would be. Any former president or any, high-level like State Department official or something like that is definitely going to have a more secure home than Mar-a-Lago. I have one. You have one. Anybody watching this has a more secure home with a greater awareness of who comes and goes than Mar-a-Lago. Right? I wouldn't do it, but I could tomorrow, if I started a GoFuckMe and just said, send me $100,000, I'm going to throw an event at Mar-a-Lago. My money's as green as anybody else's. They would let me in there. And do you think anybody would give a fuck if I was anywhere around? Hi, how are you? Thanks. Very upset.
As people who...
Hold on. My girlfriend brought me a tea, and she heard me screaming. Thank you, my love. As long as I didn't go anywhere near Trump or if he wasn't on the property, the Secret Service wouldn't give a shit where I was going. And think about Vladimir Putin has people on his security detail that take his turds. You understand me? Vladimir Putin doesn't shit outside of Russia. He takes his shit back with him because he's afraid that the enemies of Russia will sift through his turds and medically diagnose him or find out what his favorite food is or something, and therefore find a way to poison him or go through his genetics and go, we can create a special virus out of his genes to do it. So they secure his turds. I'm sorry, Panic Survivor. And they take them back to Mother Russia. Donald Trump lives in a fucking event space.
For Trump supporters. Now, look, there are three groups of people.
Okay, there's three groups of people. People who have gotten massages at Jeffrey Epstein's place and taken their underwear off. People who have gotten a massage at Jeffrey Epstein's place and left their underwear on. And people who are disgusted by the notion of either.
There are the Lawrence tribes.
The Lawrence tribes.
For whom, if you're after Trump, everything's okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. Now, obviously, he's not for snipers.
Constitution be damned.
Nope.
Constitution was written for the Democratic Party.
Nonsense.
There's no objective status. Okay, that's one group of people.
Yes. The example of crazy off the rails is Lawrence tribe. Okay.
The other group of people are so supportive of Trump that nothing done against him can ever be justified.
Right. That would be Glenn.
The
Let you hear Glenn go, I love those people. They're my viewers.
vast majority of Americans want to see justice, whether they voted for or against the candidate. And that's what we're not seeing here today.
And I do mean not seeing.
And so I urge all of my fellow
You urge.
Democrats
Don't group me in with you, fucko.
to object to this. We're the ones who could
I don't object to this. He kept classified documents at a rentable event space. It's not his fucking house. Stop it. Stop calling it his fucking home. He legally doesn't have the right to use it as a fucking house. He rents it out to strangers. This is not about even a president keeping classified stuff at their home.
can really have an influence on this administration
Jesus.
because we're not Trump supporters. We're justice supporters. We believe in the Constitution.
Nonsense.
And that's where the pressure has to come.
Would you agree that the
FBI are Gestapo? Gazpacho.
FBI's been weaponized?
They've been weaponized.
I think that there are elements within the FBI.
Elements that will follow the truth no matter where it leads them, and they are enemies of Donald Trump and therefore the state.
That have been weaponized. I do think that.
Why?
Look, it happened during the McCarthy period.
Yeah.
During the McCarthy period.
Yes.
As well. And it was wrong then.
Yeah, this is the same as McCarthyism. When they accused Hollywood writers of taking 15 boxes of classified documents and storing them at a disco in a storage room with no lock on it.
And it's wrong now. The FBI should be. Look, the head of the FBI is not a liberal Democrat. He's
He's a Trump appointee.
nonpartisan, and I don't know whether he has deliberately done these things. But remember,
You do know one thing. Trump deliberately took this shit to Mar-a-Lago and deliberately refused to give it back. That's a fact. That's clear from the back and forth they've had for the last few months.
the FBI works for the
Fuck, man, this is going on really long.
Justice Department. They are part of the Justice Department, and so there's an old story
Oh, God.
where the Attorney General of the United States during the Second World War
Yeah, because that's applicable.
tried to get into the building late, and the building was restricted. And he said to the guard, "I am the Attorney General of the United States." And the guard said, "I don't care if you're J. Edgar Hoover himself, you can't get in here." But that was wrong. J. Edgar Hoover worked for the Attorney General of the United States. And so
Yeah, it's a great story. Hilarious. It sounds like you're reiterating a political cartoon meant to slam government written during World War II, where God knows there wasn't tidal waves of propaganda being fed into the system.
So does the director of the FBI,
Oh God, who gives a
who
shit?
work for the Justice Department.
What? And that proves nothing. The fuck does that have to do with anything? Yes, he does, but that doesn't mean he has to clear everything. He's got clearance to do his goddamn job.
Is your book out yet? I haven't read it
I haven't read it. I mean, I'm not going to.
yet. Alan, I'm sorry to say that. It is.
And it's doing very well
Good.
on
Oh yeah, it's doing very well.
Amazon.
Yeah, it's doing great on yankitandspankit.org.
And please buy it and review it,
No.
because
Why don't you send him a copy to review it, dummy?
it's all about what's going on now. It's all about, it starts out with the phrase that
Yeah, don't tell him. Let him get the audiobook. Send him the audiobook, Alan. You read it masterfully. The weird squishing noise going on in the background during the whole thing is a bit off-putting, I'm sure, but Glenn will be used to it with Stu being around.
partisanship has trumped principle,
Yes.
and that we no longer live in a nation governed by principles. We
Whose fault is that?
live in a nation governed by partisanship divisions. And,
Yeah, I know. That's Glenn's job, dummy.
as Abraham Lincoln said, a nation divided itself against
Itself cannot stand up and be counted. This is just so stupid.
cannot stand. That's the nation.
Whereas Glenn Beck likes to say, I cannot stand a country that isn't divided against itself. It's also the TYT moniker.
living in today.
We must divide the country. I can't stand it.
I will read it.
No, he won't. Prediction. He's not going to read it.
Price of Principle.
I will read the parts of the audiobook that I, at the very beginning, that in my car when I go to the drive-through at Sonic, but I will have to turn it down because even though I order the same thing in bulk every time, they never get it right.
You are paying a very high price for that, as are others. But thank you for...
He's paying a very high price? Why? Because he's not getting invited to engagement parties at Martha's Vineyard? Get the fuck out of here. That's not a high price. It's cost me friends. Apparently, these people that I used to socialize with and make money from no longer want me around their preteen daughters. I can't imagine why. I think it's because they're worried that I'll be a bad influence on them because I represented Trump in his impeachment trial. Yeah, that's why.
having them and sticking
skin.
to them.
I
sir.
have a thick skin.
I don't want to think about this dude's skin. Why do I have to do that? Why you fucking got to do that? Why you got to... I don't want to think about your skin. You fucking gross.
Can bear the cost. But when
I can bear the cost. I can take it. These slings and arrows. Lord, why must you do this to your son? I am nailed to this cross, and there's a wine tasting going on. It's right over there, and I can't fucking get... Why won't you? Lord, release me from this burden. May I not be a martyr to thy cross anymore, upon thy cross anymore, so that I may... There's really some really good investment opportunities if I could just overhear what those people are saying. Father, shut the fuck up.
the people of my island, Martha's Vineyard, are not allowed to hear me speak at the Chilmark Library.
Oh my God. You're not supposed to talk in a library, dummy. Every time I go to the library and try to speak, somebody's trying to shush me. It's a fucking library, dummy. Shh.
When I've been banned by a public library
Because there are children around.
I defended President Trump.
Because there were children around. Kids go to the library. There's a lot of... They're worried about like 12, 13-year-old girls being at the library. That's why. It's not the fucking... Has nothing to do with it. It's because you hung out with Jeffrey Epstein and you're like, a massage at your home? I hear you blackmail people with underage girls and fly them to an island. You have a weird Lolita Island, a Lolita Express is what they call it. I've been aware of the name of that airplane for years, and I know what you're involved in Which room? This one. Over here? Excellent. Cool. Do I leave my clothes outside? Will they be cleaned when I come out? No? All right.
Then it goes beyond any parties or social convenience.
Yes, it might just be that it's you. It's not Democrats, it's Republicans. It's just this special category of fuck you scumbag.
Social inconvenience. People have the right to disinvite me if they don't like my
We know. Thank
politics.
God.
They're wrong to do it.
Oh, no. It's not because of your politics. You are under the misapprehension that this has to do with your politics.
But they have the right.
There are other people, by the way, Trump lawyers, by the way, many of whom who worked for Trump, and before they testified for January 6th, Cipollone and all those guys, some of them are in those circles, and they're not getting disinvited. Nope. Worked in the White House for Donald Trump for years. What's his name? Hirschman. They're not getting disinvited to things like that. Nope. Because nobody's worried about them going around a corner with their daughter.
Do it, but they have no right to prevent a library from allowing me to speak, which is what's happened.
A library?
I hate to say this, but welcome to the club.
I didn't realize Glenn Beck had gotten a rub and tug at Jeffrey Epstein's house. The $70 million Upper West Side apartment that he paid $1 for. $1.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. I'll see you in Napa.
Alan Dershowitz.
Thank you.
You bet. The author of The Price.
No, I don't care. I'm grossed out. I feel like I need a shower after that one. That's just blech. Fucking blech.